Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And welcome back to Going in Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. On today's episode, we're talking the Royal Rumble because it's coming up in about a year. Little less than a year. Larson.
360 days or so from today when we're shooting this on February 5th.
Right.
2025.
So wait, the Rumble 2026 is going to be in Saudi Arabia, right?
Correct.
All right. So we're going to talk about the upcoming Royal Rumble 2026. Given that we just passed the 2025 Rumble, it might be fun to look far into the future, another 11 and a half months or so, to find out who we think has the best shot at winning the Royal Rumble. You know, back when Cody won the Rumble the first time, lost to Roman Reigns, I think it was probably pretty natural to assume, hey, he might have a good shot. Same with CM Punk this past last year when he came this close. Obviously, he didn't win this year, but sometimes you can get a good some good read, good reading on some tea leaves here.
Yeah, you kind of see the lay of the land from a creative standpoint, and you could try to prognosticate a year from now who might be in the best position to win the Rumble in 2026. I guess we should address this before we get started with the list. You mentioned him earlier, Phil Brooks, CM Punk.
Yeah.
He didn't make the top 10 for a very specific reason. Not that we don't think there's a chance that he could win a Rumble in the near future. Obviously, I think that's the case, and I think you'd agree with that.
Yeah.
He's been highly critical of the Saudi shows in the past.
Yes.
So there's no guarantee that he's going to participate in the Rumble in 2026.
Yeah. So we took him out. It would take a pretty big. I mean, look, it's not out of the realm of possibility. He could flip on it and say, "Hey, you know what? This deal's been doing all sorts of great things for whatever." If he decides to participate, I would be kind of surprised if that was the case, though.
Yeah.
So that being said, and we'll talk about the other honorable mentions at the end of the episode because there are quite a few here. And so we've got in this list, we've got both men and women. So it's basically 5 and 5, and it's a conglomeration of Larson's thoughts and my thoughts, and we're gonna just hash it out here. So let's go ahead and get started with number 10. Kevin Owens. Now,
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't know. Was he, I'm going to ask this every time.
Sure.
Was he on your short
Yes.
list? He was. Okay.
Yes. I can see Kevin Owens having a 2025 comparable to Drew McIntyre's 2024.
That's what I was going to say as well.
In terms of really interesting, compelling character work that might not necessarily lead to the level of success that he in character is hoping to attain, or we as fans of Kevin Owens would like him to attain this year. But I get the sense that Drew's probably in store for some major things in 2025, at least I hope so. And I would expect the same for Kevin Owens in 2026. And that's the primary. I mean, Kevin Owens is great. He's great every year. It's kind of surprising he hasn't won a Rumble yet. But I would give him pretty decent odds of maybe getting that Rumble win in 2026.
Let me ask you this. Given that Jey Uso has been around for a very long time, obviously the year prior to that, it was, and the year prior to that was Cody. Before that, it was Brock, which I think Brock was still a Triple H decision, I think. Could be wrong about that. That might have actually been a Vince decision. Now, it might be one of Vince's last decisions. Anyways, the main event scene, title and kind of above, and even the upper mid card, filled with chock full of veterans. Not a lot of youth there. You got Punk, Rollins, Roman. Cody's like the youngest guy.
Anywhere between their late 30s to mid-late 40s. Yeah.
Drew is actually on the lower end of that, and I believe Kevin Owens is as well. But Triple H likes for both veterans, people who have established their name over a long period of time. And as you said, as we've seen with Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens is sort of in that similar position. And yet he's now, over the past 4 months, even just very recently, been coming into his own at a new level with this heel persona of his, all organically built the way Kevin Owens can. I feel like that WrestleMania spot with him and clearly Sami Zayn, and then I'm assuming at some point Randy Orton, those are going to be kind of a reset for him to go on a huge run deeper into the year, maybe parallel to Drew McIntyre, given that where's Kevin? Kevin Owens on SmackDown, but that could always change. And so I think that Kevin Owens, it's entirely possible that another longtime veteran doing career level work under Triple H, a guy who it's definitely a Triple H guy.
He basically handed him the Universal. Well, he did hand him the Universal title.
He literally did.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I could definitely see it being Kevin Owens trying to build up some really, really good heels to their really strong baby faces. They got a terrific line of baby faces with Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk. You want to build up now kind of Roman Reigns if he's going to be a good guy going forward. You got to build up a lot of really strong bad guys in order to keep those matchups relatively fresh across the board. Who knows? Kevin Owens might end up on Raw, might end up challenging a world champion in Jey Uso. So, yeah, I think that Kevin Owens has a pretty decent chance of winning the Rumble next year.
I agree, Steve.
All right, let's move on now to number 9. We're heading over to the women's division.
9.
I got to say 9, and then you say 9, and then I say my spiel. Sorry.
That's fine. That's fine.
I'll slow down here. Chelsea Green. Chelsea's great.
She's on the trajectory where she's a heel whose work is so good and so entertaining that the company's going to have no choice because she's going to get so over to turn her face. That's the arc she's on right now. You know, every week she does something with what regardless if it's a long segment, short segment, a match, whatever, she always does something to be wildly entertaining, and she's getting over.
Yeah.
Massively. And a year from now, they could have done the story where her and Piper split. Maybe Chelsea turns face in the course of that storyline, and it catapults her to a completely different level of popularity and success, leading to a Rumble win next year.
I have no idea who's going to, let's assume for a second Chelsea stays on SmackDown. I don't know who's going to take that title off Tiffany, if it's going to be a long run, meaning, from where she has it right now through until next year's WrestleMania, not this year's WrestleMania, next year's WrestleMania. I kind of doubt it, though. And I don't know why, but I kind of doubt it. So it could be by the time we reach Mania next year, an established heel veteran like a Charlotte Flair, like a Nia Jax, like, somebody in that vein could have that title. And then you got your sort of, similar into a degree with the way she won the United States Championship, how everybody popped big for it. But as she turns babyface, as she has to deal with, a feud maybe with Piper Niven, like you mentioned, she has to find what it really takes to win on her own. And she realizes that she can. But once she comes up against a Charlotte or a Nia Jax or something, then it's like, oh man, she's in over her head. And then you get the relatable babyface stuff, and everybody's pushing for her. And dude, Chelsea, anything she touches turns to gold. It really does. And I couldn't think of a bigger pop than that kind of a story at WrestleMania in the women's title main event, winning that title. I think that I don't think anybody would complain about that one.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either at all. Yeah, it's to see since she's come back, her embrace the character, and it's been a very organic kind of rise in popularity for her. People appreciate and enjoy her work. And that is the absolute best position to be in as a heel to get launched. It's you look in the history of wrestling, it's the formula.
It is.
It's the formula. Yeah. You're a wildly entertaining heel. You get over with the fans, and you just move over to wildly over babyface. We could probably list off a dozen examples of that happening, probably just within the last 30 years.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's her arc right now for her career. And I'm excited to see where she is a year from now. because she might be one of the most over wrestlers in the entire company.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, man. Well, let's now move on to number 8.
8.
Cody Rhodes. Larson, let me ask you a question as we start this.
No, I did not have Cody on my short list, no.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even ask that about the last. Do you have Chelsea on your short list?
I think I considered Chelsea,
Okay.
but I think when I was kind of putting my list of 5 together, I didn't have Chelsea.
Would you be surprised if I told you that I looked into the future?
I would be, because last I checked, you were not a soothsayer.
Well, Wrestle Juice isn't my only side gig, Larson. And I saw by the end of 2025, Cody Rhodes is no longer WWE Undisputed Champion. Would you be surprised at that?
No, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, by the time WrestleMania rolls around, you have that belt for a year. I don't think we need 400-plus day title reigns all the time.
I don't think we do either. I don't think we should have them. Excuse me.
I think there's been at least 2 instances during Cody's title reign that I think if he had lost, it'd been way more interesting than if he had just held on to it.
What, Randy and Kevin?
Cody hasn't faced Randy.
Sorry, no, not Randy. Who did he face before Kevin?
Well, definitely not Logan Paul. I thought during the AJ feud, although it wasn't likely, but for sure during the Kevin Owens feud.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know why I said Randy. I thought there was a Randy level guy that he faced off with. Anyways, so yeah, getting back to it. I think it's entirely possible that John Cena gets it from him, maybe, because obviously WrestleMania is deep into the year, into 2026, that the Cena's not going to be around for. Somebody's got to take it off Cena. You got to think whoever that's going to be. Sure, it might be Cody. That's boring. I say a bad guy for big heat. I say Drew McIntyre moving to SmackDown, taking that, ripping it away from John Cena, maybe using Money in the Bank the way he got cashed in on. I think that'd be a terrific story, and I could see it playing out. Might not happen, but you never know. In which case, you have this reign of Drew's terror, which can only be ended by one man, Larson.
Whoa!
Winning the Royal Rumble, Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
I can see it happening.
Yeah, so long as Cody's in WWE and not world champion, he's going to be a perennial top 5 contender to win the Rumble. It's just how it's going to be,
Exactly.
as long as he's a full-time competitor.
Exactly.
You can't he's going to be the new Cena in that regard. You cannot discount him any given year, so long as he's not world champion, that he could walk out of the Rumble with that WrestleMania title shot.
Yep.
That's his position in the company. That's going to be his position in the company for the foreseeable future. I guess we all better get used to it.
Is it a
because
boring
that's
pick?
the reality that we're facing.
It's a gnarly reality we're facing, Larson. Oh, I'm thinking of something else. Yeah, no, Cody Rhodes. Yeah, no, that's a great reality we're facing. Whether or not the rest of the fans will agree with that, I don't know. Maybe at that point they'll be like, boo, it's like Charlotte all over again.
There's got to be a balancing act about, Cody is obviously one of the cornerstones of the company at this point. You make the argument that he is the face of the WWE at this junction.
People love Cody still.
People
They
love
him.
Cody.
Yeah.
They love Cody. I understand that. That being said,
oh wow, there's a that being said there. Wow.
Right now there's a balance they're striking with Cody where he's world champion. Whoa, beats everybody. But there's some wrinkles and dimension to his character, so he's not generic smiling babyface. It gets boring super quick.
Yeah, I still like what the fellas over at Post Wrestling said about Cody. Cody is representation of WWE. As Triple H has said, Larson, WWE's on fire right now. And so they cheer Cody. They're cheering the company, essentially. I think that's actually a pretty sound take on that particular situation. When Cena was around, they were like, the rest of the WWE sucks.
Or
and they're not
Reigns,
doing
for that
anything
matter,
interesting with you.
Yeah.
But they also, the way Triple H books Cody, he's not a pushover.
Yeah.
He damn near kills Kevin Owens and he goes back and he gloats.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Disrespectful. Stands over him, talks trash.
Maybe Crop does. I've been holding this in the entire time.
Yeah, he's like, I've been holding all those bumps, all those crazy bumps.
Oh, man.
Didn't let any flatulence out. But right now, guess what? You're going to wallow in it, Kevin Owens.
You're just going to smell my brand.
Because I beat you, and now you gotta just wallow.
You got to set
in my
it, pal.
beef.
You got to set in it, you son of a bitch. Anyways, we're going to talk more Royal Rumble 2026 winners in just a moment here. But first, we have a couple of sponsors for the show today, Larson.
We do. Let's take a quick break here. Get a word from our sponsor, DraftKings Pick 6. Super Bowl 59 is nearly here, Steve, which means the NFL season is almost over. But also means this is your last chance to play NFL Pick 6 this season. As the official daily fantasy sports partner of the NFL, DraftKings does fantasy sports like no one else.
That's right, Larson, and it's super easy to get started with Pick 6. All you got to do is select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a particular stat, like touchdowns, yardage, sacks, and more. And check this out. DraftKings is now making it even sweeter for first-time players. New Pick 6 customers play $5, get $59 in Pick 6 credits.
So win more cash on Pick 6. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code RAW. That's code RAW for new customers to play $5 and get $59 in Pick 6 credits. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
And we've got some disclosures from DraftKings Pick 6. Here we go.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, and we have another sponsor for the show today, Larson.
We do. And this episode of Going in Raw is sponsored by BetterHelp. You know, Steve, so often you hear about red flags that we should avoid in our relationships. And it's obviously important to be on the lookout for them, whether you're dating, married, building a new friendship, or just working on yourself.
That's right, Larson, but it's also important to appreciate the green flags and the positive relationships in your life. And if you're having trouble identifying them, therapy can help you actively find these green flags in your relationships. And if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try.
I've spoken extensively about how therapy helped me when I was dealing with severe anxiety in my mid-20s, but 20 years ago, going to therapy involved getting in the car and driving to the therapist's office. But BetterHelp is completely online, making therapy convenient and affordable. With BetterHelp, you have access to a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties, and you can easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost.
So discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/raw today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw. All right, let's go ahead and continue on with our number 7. Jordan Grace.
So, when was this? This was February 4th, so yesterday as of the day we're filming this. I know this is going up Friday. Fightful Select reported that Jordan Grace is expected to go to NXT, but not be there for long because she's on a main roster deal. So I know in your short list of contenders for this list, you had Julia, which I think if we're talking 2027 Rumble winners, heck yeah. Seems like Julia might be in NXT for a while.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that NXT is on a really good roll right now. You look at what they're doing in the ratings. I feel like CW got a deal with what they're paying for NXT. And yeah, Julia is the cornerstone. It seems like she probably will be there for a little while.
Whereas Jordan Grace may just have a couple feuds, maybe even by if they have a draft this year, which who knows with this transfer window stuff. I would not be shocked if Jordan Grace gets drafted, whether it's end of, I guess, be early May, and goes to either Raw or SmackDown, and then is just full-time main roster member at that juncture. It would be awesome to see her win the Rumble and either feud with Charlotte, Rhea, Bianca, all the top stars of the women's division, because she's at that level. Jordan Grace is an incredible pro wrestler, and it'd be fantastic to see her in those feuds, and I would not be shocked if they want her to make maximum impact upon her main roster arrival.
Yeah.
Have her win the Rumble.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy because I remember when she signed, I think it was her last deal with TNA, and I don't remember exactly how long that last deal was, or if it was the one before that. Whatever it was, I was surprised because I honestly thought that she had built her brand up to the point where she could go somewhere else. And the thing about her also is, and so when she re-signed, I was a little bit surprised. I was like, oh, wow. I feel like you could have struck with the iron was hot. It got hotter. Her appearances in NXT were absolutely so well received by the fans. And when she showed up at the Rumble last year, that place went crazy. She is so far ahead of anybody else that has signed with the company. She has done such a phenomenal job building up that brand. She's put in so much work. And she is so ready for prime time that there's going to be the crowd is already. I mean, how many comments did we get from people saying this about one of two people, either Roxanne or Jordan Grace? How great would it be if Jordan came in and just won the Rumble on her debut? And I understand that's a lot to ask, but at the same time, she is so ready for, I mean, if anybody is going to take one of those old school Vince McMahon deals where they come in and like immediately win the title, it would be Jordan Grace. You know, I forget how quickly it was when AJ Styles came in, but it was pretty quick that AJ won that world title. Was it 2016?
Because he debuted the Rumble 2016, and by that summer, I think he was champion.
I think so. It was really fast.
It was pretty quick because like his third feud after coming to the company was with Roman when Roman was champion. It won it then.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that was the feud that kind of put the idea in Vince's head. Oh, we can make AJ champion.
That could very well be. But he won it so quickly, and I could see that and you could see the parallels between the two as well. You know, obviously both came from TNA. AJ spent a little bit of time in Japan, but yeah, I mean this here, Jordan is the closest thing I think they have to an AJ Styles level name being signed by the company. Already did a little bit, you know, sprinkled in a little bit with the WWE. Fan base knew who she was immediately. She was wowing everybody. She comes in this year, looks like $1 million. Looks like she's ready on main roster immediately. She's got the promo. She's got the look. She's got the talent in the ring. There is nothing stopping her, I think, from a very quick ascent in the company on either brand, regardless of where she ends up on main roster. And I was very happy to see that Fightful Select report. I hope that ends up panning out the way that it was laid out there, and what the expectations are evidently backstage, because she seriously, she could easily win a title. And I'll be honest with you, it could even be, dude, that the Rumble is too far away. What if she comes in at the Rumble, she pulls an AJ Styles, and by whatever it is, the further on in the end of the year, summertime, whatever it is, she wins the title then.
September of 2016 that AJ beat Dean Ambrose.
It was September. Wow.
So he's in the company about 8 months.
I could see that being the case for Jordan Gray. That's like the one knock against her winning the Rumble is she might win it before then.
It's entirely possible. Possible.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's move on now to number 6. Roxanne Perez.
So she was the runner-up this year's Rumble. She said on this week's NXT that after she reclaims the title at Vengeance Day, she's not done winning titles. She wants to go to Raw. She wants to go to SmackDown, win those titles as well. It seems like even though she's not looking past Vengeance Day and trying to reclaim the NXT Women's Championship, she's already got her sights set ahead to Raw and SmackDown. I would expect after Julia retains at Vengeance Day that Roxanne's going to be a full-time member of the Raw roster to feud with Bayley heading into WrestleMania. Would not be shocked if they have a WrestleMania match. And given that Roxanne can make the case MVP of the Women's Rumble this year, she's got to be an early contender to win next year, because it's based on that performance, based on the expectations they have for her once she makes the jump to the main roster, putting her in that position in this year's Rumble of being the Iron Woman, beating Bayley's record time for, Rumble Iron Woman, which of course feeds in their story, and then being in there with Charlotte as the final two. Mm-hmm. That all tells me they got high expectations for Roxanne Perez once she is full-time on the main roster.
And I also get the feeling, and this might just be sort of, I don't know. I mean, you see the evidence with Tiffany Stratton, and I understand that much of the rest of the roster are comprised of veterans. But you look at what they did with Tiffany. Young came in with the NXT 2.0 stuff, so hasn't been wrestling a very long time, but picked up on it incredibly quickly. Her character very realized. They had no problems having her carry that title at a young age. And I wonder if that's going to be kind of indicative of how they're going to move forward with the women's division. With so much great talent coming in from NXT. And I think that benefits Roxanne Perez as well, whether it's going to be on Raw against Rhea Ripley or whether it's going to be over on SmackDown if they do like a youth movement over there. I don't know. But I could definitely see her being kind of Tiffany Stratton's, contemporary over on the other brand, Mm-hmm. I could see that being the situation. And yeah, I mean, you look at past Rumbles to maybe inform a little bit of what you could expect in the future. Her performance this year, absolutely. You could see her winning next year as well.
Yeah. And I wonder, too, if the story they're telling with her and Bayley and using that as kind of the through line to bring up to main roster is something we're going to see more often in the future, given that I think for the most part it's worked out pretty darn well, rather than just having NXT call-up show up on main and, having to find opportunities on the show to get their characters over, get themselves over.
Yeah.
Well, start that process in NXT and make it organic when it crosses over. Mm-hmm. It makes a lot of sense.
It does, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's something you could do all the time, but there's no reason you can't do it a heck of a lot more often because it makes that bridge between NXT and main roster just far more seamless than we've seen in the past, where someone's not on NXT for a bit, they get drafted to main, maybe they have a sporadic appearance, and then they're just like not on TV regularly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I get the feeling that given that NXT is becoming more popular and numbers are going up, we're going to see a lot. I mean, that's going to be hey, it's working. Now let's start infusing a little bit of main roster with some NXT stuff, and there's no reason why you shouldn't. It just helps NXT, helps, the future of the company when you, like you say, they have that bridge going on.
Yeah.
I could see that being the case moving forward as well.
Yeah, totally.
All right, moving forward here, let's talk about number 5. Gunther.
He's going to lose that World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
To Yeet Jey Uso.
Yeet.
Last time Gunther lost the title at WrestleMania, Intercontinental title to Sami Zayn. Didn't see him for a bit. Showed up, refocused, dominated the King of the Ring tournament, led to him winning the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam. Now, I know there is a much larger gap between WrestleMania and the Rumble, and I'm not suggesting that Gunther's going to be off TV that entire time. But if the idea is Gunther gets his first title reign, loses it to Jay, and they do some story, I'm not saying another Crisis of Confidence story because that didn't work too well the first time with Gunther. A story where he has to... Let me say this. The way he approached Jay, it wasn't exactly the same way he approached Sami leading up to their Mania match, but to both of them, he was fairly dismissive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as we learned in the Sami story, Gunther's weakness is hubris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if he's on a mission to essentially punish Jey Uso for challenging him for the World Heavyweight Championship at Mania, and week after week just beating the hell out of Jay, you could be filled with a bit of hubris heading into WrestleMania, look past Jay, lose again, and then you got to tell a story of not so much Gunther having a crisis of confidence. It's how does Gunther not get consumed with hubris?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which, I don't know if they can pull that off or if it'd even be interesting. You give him some feuds for a few months, and you want to start his a story of him getting back into the world title picture. I'd honestly be shocked if during the course of Gunther's career in WWE he does not win a Rumble. Like
Yeah,
his
that'd be
skill
weird.
set, on paper, in terms of the stories they tell, is like perfectly suited to winning a Rumble.
Well, you also look at his, the him and Cody 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and what a terrific final two they made. He basically got a mini match right there, and yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that it would be pretty shocking if Gunther didn't win a Rumble. Not that that's the end all be all. I mean, dude's been champion 80% of his run in WWE. But yeah, no, I everything you say, I agree with. I could see that happening. It will be, given that he's been champion like 80% of the time. It'd be interesting to see what the hell they're going to do with Gunther between WrestleMania and whenever he wins his next championship, what that championship is going to be. Because yeah, at some point you got to book the guy without a title,
In interesting stories,
into stories,
Yeah.
And it'll be kind of interesting to see what that is, what he's able to, because sometimes like, if you can find a way for the character to stick to their inherent philosophy, in his case, respecting the ring, keeping the ring sacred, all that, how you can do that without him chasing a title. And I think that there could be some interesting stuff there. And hopefully they're able to mine that. Let's go ahead and move on now to number 4. Nia Jax.
I was happy to see that they kind of didn't follow through with the typical spot, the giant spot, if you will, in the Rumble.
They subverted the trope, didn't they?
They subverted the trope. I mean, I can think of at least one instance where Nia's been in some sort of Battle Royal or Royal Rumble, and they did that leading to her elimination. And not only did they subvert the trope, it later on led to her eliminating like 5 people at once. Since she's come back to WWE, Nia's work has been really, really good.
It has been.
Going back to her first run, her in-ring crap talk was always top tier.
Yeah.
And that's still good, arguably gotten better. Her in-ring work, better. Her comfort level with her character is off the charts.
That's what that seems to be, because I was watching again, not to interrupt you here, but just as a quick tangent, I was watching Raw with Jay's entrance post Rumble win, and you're just sitting there, you're looking at this packed arena, and it's like, what a stark difference. And isn't the main change, the main thing that Triple H did was everybody realized who they were, and from that you can actually tell some stories. That's kind of the biggest thing. The biggest example is Rhea Ripley. Before, under Vince, that girl looked lost. She was like, who the hell am I supposed to be? That's always was in her eyes. Under Triple H, the brutality person understood completely who she was. And that goes across the board. And I think under Nia Jax, or with Nia Jax under Triple H, it's the same situation. She just understands it. Look at Liv Morgan. I understand who she is now, and I never did before. Nia Jax is the same.
I mean, it's the thing with Vince, where one day he'd have an idea and just go with it, whether it was consistent with what had been put in place beforehand.
Yeah.
We mentioned this all the time when Mox was on Talk is Jericho, and that conversation with Vince where he says, well, I know who you are.
Yeah.
Well, you're shoehorning an idea that may not be consistent with how you portray that character because it makes you laugh or whatever the case is. You're shoehorning that idea into this character's arc, whether it makes sense or not.
Right, yeah.
And for us as an audience, it makes us question, who is this person?
Yeah.
And I'm sure in the case with Rhea, where it's like one week after another, there's contradictory stuff you're being given about character motivations, what you do in this instance and what your motivation is for acting this way.
Man, do you think Vince ever used the word motivation? It was like, you're going to do this. And then they're like, why am I doing this? Because it's funny, or because that's, what I mean?
Yeah, no, I doubt he would talk at that level about motivations.
At that basic level, right.
Yeah. And which again, then that's up to the performer to be like, all right, how am I supposed to piece this puzzle together to make this consistent? And that's hard to do.
It is.
if there's not a consistent through line for your character's motivations.
True, yeah.
And yeah, I guess if there's been perhaps the major improvement of Triple H's creative philosophy is that it seems like basically every character has a comfort level with who their character is and what their motivations are, and therefore there's a through line through everything they do that's consistent with those motivations. And that was, for the most part, lacking prior to Triple H taking over creative.
Yeah, and Nia Jax is in that spot. Now, talk about, because I don't think I had her on my short list for the Women's Rumble, so why was she on yours?
Oh,
Triple H, number one, obviously Triple H really likes her, but was there anything more specific?
And I think her work has been really good since she's come back. She's been achieving one accolade after another since her return, winning Queen of the Ring, winning the title. And the trajectory seems to be probably more success. Especially if she stays a heel, has a really dominant performance in the Rumble and wins, and faces, a kind of an underdog babyface in a title match at WrestleMania. That's an interesting matchup.
Or the unstoppable force versus the immovable object.
Yeah.
Charlotte Flair.
Yep. Yeah. You just want to see that. You want them just to throw hands in the ring, don't you?
I do. I really do. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, but before we get to that point, let's move on to number 3. Drew McIntyre.
Again, someone that seems like, on paper, should win a Rumble. Well, they have. He has won a Rumble, but win another Rumble during the course of his career in WWE. And I still feels like a part of his character motivation is, I didn't get the world title reign I should have got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it'd be great for him to actually get that.
Yes. Yeah.
He's been doing career work over the last year plus. And from a fan vantage point, like we talked about with Jay on the Raw recap, we're invested in his character. We're invested in his story. And it would be great to see his hard work and our investment in that work be rewarded by him achieving the greatest success possible.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see moving forward, because I got my theory that Drew might be Money in the Bank guy this year, correct the wrongs of his past. Now, obviously, his Rumble win was a huge success. It was not a wrong, but if he's able to correct some wrongs, let's say, for example, Cena beats Cody, but Cody is the guy to then go back and get that win back and get the title back, which would make some amount of sense, because, why would Cena leave and Cody not get that back? It seems like that's something they'd want for their big baby face.
Yeah.
Well, then you got to look ahead to WrestleMania. And does Cody walk in as champion there? Or did he walk in as challenger? Case could be made. He walks in as champion, and he's got the big bad Drew McIntyre. Not now having excises demons from the past, or exercises demons from the past, recreating the blueprint that he set for himself, winning the Rumble, but this time winning the championship in front of a couple more people than he did before, which was no people. So in front of the 60,000, 70,000, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I could absolutely see him, given the trajectory that he's been on. Now, the big question is, are they going to keep him on the trajectory he should be on? He should have a tremendous 2025. And if they're talking him versus Damian Priest, if I'm telling you, if that is part of a plan for him to correct the mistakes of the past, beat him at WrestleMania because he got beat at WrestleMania by Damian Priest, get Money in the Bank because he got cashed in on, and then cash in on Cody or John Cena or whoever, then okay, I think that Damian Priest is a good match for him at WrestleMania.
I guess so. The story has to be obviously good, and there has to be, I think, a measure of self-reflection from the character of Drew McIntyre about why he keeps failing.
At a certain point, he's got to lock in, man.
He's got to realize that he's his own worst enemy.
Yeah, right.
He continually blames other people for his own failings, yet if you go back and look, most of the time he costs himself success.
Yeah.
there's instances where that's not the case, but so often he just pushes things a little too far. He's too hyper focused on just one thing and loses sight of the larger picture. And that's his undoing. And I think that at some point there's got to be a moment where he realizes, oh, I spent all this time blaming everybody else for my failures. Maybe it was me.
Yeah, right.
You know, and I think what makes his character really work is when you go back to Clash at the Castle, when he did lose or didn't win the title because of interference from Solo Sikoa. That's an instance where it's like, yes, outside forces caused me to lose the match. But then he starts seeing a pattern of outside forces causing him to lose the match that aren't really there.
Yeah, right.
You know, and he's got to work all that out, I think, either in the arc of that story or in the lead up to that story. Otherwise, it's going to feel like, all right, well, you're just kind of in matches righting the wrongs of the past without the character growing in the process.
Yep. I agree. Let's move on now to number 2. Bianca Belair. So at some point, they got to get her back on the road to being a single star because she's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly when, although it seems soon, and it might be as soon as WrestleMania. I love it. And I know this is probably not going to happen, but I love the idea of WrestleMania being a tag match, her and Jade Cargill versus Naomi and Jordan Grace. Naomi and Jordan Grace having that connection because of their TNA history. They've already addressed that in the Rumble. And them both being tag champions, Naomi and Bianca, and that both teams are going. That's so unique. I like that idea.
That would be a lot of fun. That would be a lot of fun.
That'd be really cool. But after that, she's got to get back on the road to. Maybe she loses. That would be so wrong. They lose to Naomi and Jordan Grace. That'd be rad as hell, though. Jordan Grace and Naomi as like bad guys. That'd be
tag champs?
Sick. As tag champs and bad guys. Ooh, that'd be cool.
That'd be pretty cool. But then, like that would get Bianca back on the path to pursuing singles championships. And, there was reporting recently from Fightful that there's been some discussions about doing Bianca and Rhea this year at Mania.
Yeah.
And if they did that, the match would be great. I wouldn't be upset about it. However, I feel like that's a match, given the star power of the two participants, that could main event WrestleMania. And so you take your time and you build to that match.
Yeah, right.
They've dropped little hints here and there, but have yet to really get into the story of them facing off at WrestleMania. So rather than just kind of rushing it now and just relying on the fans being excited about the match happening, give us a really good story. Take your time with it.
Yeah.
And the excitement level for the fan base is going to go up exponentially. And then
also,
part of that story could involve Bianca winning the Rumble and then challenging Rhea at WrestleMania.
It also seems like, man, I'll be so surprised if Charlotte doesn't choose Rhea, given that what they had on Raw together. I mean, I just don't know. Like, I suppose maybe she can be goaded into choosing Tiffany via some sort of Nia Jax thing, perhaps. I don't know.
Have you watched NXT yet this week?
I saw one clip from social media, Charlotte coming in and saying, "Julia, you're legit." And I saw like a chunk of her promo.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't as obviously, the story between Rhea and Charlotte is personal because there's history there.
Yeah.
But it was here. I actually just watched it. It was basically, Julia, I respect you. Let's see. The hype is real. You're the greatest champ. You're the champ of the greatest women's division in the world, but I'm better. So she says, you ask Bailey, whatever title I select at Mania, I'll be walking out as champion. So that's the extent we got of her challenging potentially, or considering challenging Julia at WrestleMania.
I'd love for them to elevate that title and do that, but that's a whole nothing. That's a big nothing. The real question is, I think on Smack, tonight, from where this is airing, on SmackDown, are they going to generate a story for Charlotte that is more compelling than Rhea? I mean, man, her and Rhea had a decent promo when Rhea was like, "Whoa, you can't call me a kid." Hey, there's something there. And if that's not addressed, that's a big old hole right there. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess they could do it elimination. Hey, Charlotte all the time. But like, they're not gonna have Charlotte lose at Elimination Chamber and then go on to WrestleMania still. Like, if they do Rhea versus, that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense at all.
So yeah, unless they can come up with something really compelling instead of like a rookie versus pro type situation or a rookie versus veteran situation, because that's not very compelling. Yeah, I feel like it's got to be Rhea versus Charlotte, and that's a long way of saying, which means they're not going to do Bianca, and Bianca's going to be, with, I guess you'd said that Jade was at the Performance Center. You got to think that means that she's going to be available for WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. They got to do this story at some point.
I know. There's got to be some sort of conclusion to the who attacked Jade story.
Yeah, right.
I think we all know it's Naomi at this point.
But I think that clears the way. I mean, Bianca has got to be. She's got to go back to the singles situation, and yeah, I could see her being at that point a 3-time Rumble winner.
2-time.
2 times. She only won the one.
Charlotte's the only one that's won the Women's Rumble twice.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on now to number 1. Sami Zayn. So Sami has embraced the Saudi Arabia arrangement with WWE, using to focus on his spiritual journey. And the crowd there loves him. He, definitely has a connection with the crowd there in Saudi Arabia. And given that this Rumble is going to be in Saudi Arabia, and given that, he could be the next Jey Uso. I mean, obviously they got the connection between the two. Sami Zayn is on the quest for a world title. And usually when WWE puts somebody on a quest for something, they have them get there. And with Sami Zayn, how cool would it be if Kevin Owens walked into WrestleMania next year as champion? Sami Zayn walks in as the Royal Rumble winner. What if we get some sort of like
ladder war at WrestleMania for the title? Heck yes.
I didn't even think about that, but I'm 1,000% on board with that. But I was going to say, what if we get some of that Roman J type traumatic relationship between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and Sami Zayn's able to break out of it, win the Rumble, and challenge Kevin Owens at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think Sami's really trying to take to heart what Seth Rollins said to him, but essentially, hey, start being a bit more selfish and trying to go after your own success.
Do something for yourself, man.
Yeah, do something for yourself.
Do something nice.
And I feel like that's going to be his story for the year. And I mean, you can make the case. What better way to culminate that kind of story than Sami going to the Rumble and winning it? Not relying on past relationships, not looking to help anybody, and not necessarily in a heel way. Just going there and be like, I need to do this for me.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And Sami's quest to win the NXT title is probably one of the more popular stories they told in NXT.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And there's no reason why they can't kind of adapt that same idea to tell a similar story on main roster, even using that story at NXT to inform this one, mm-hmm. and of course, after he won the title, what happened? Right into a feud with Kevin Owens,
mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So it makes a lot of sense from a story perspective to have Sami be a contender for the Rumble next year.
And then we'll be sitting here wondering, okay, wait a second, but is Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for the World Heavyweight Championship going to be able to main event?
It will if it's ladder war.
It'll be our main event, Larson.
It'll be our main event. Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's talk about some honorable mentions, dude.
Yes. So, of course, we mentioned Punk at the top of the show. We got some other names here. I mean, they got to get started doing something with him creatively, but Carmelo Hayes. He has all the tools.
I'll believe that when I see it, buddy.
But he's got all the tools.
Yes.
He's a really good promo. Yeah. His in-ring character work is fantastic. He's a great wrestler. You put him in some interesting stories, I feel like he could start moving up the card. The problem is they haven't been putting him in interesting stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'd love to see him start, kind of climbing up the card and getting attention for championships, and maybe 2027 at the rate with which they're using him creatively is a more optimistic outlook for a potential Rumble win, but I'd love to see it next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Also, Jacob Fatu. I think Jacob Fatu, he probably was like number 11 on this list. If we did 6 men and 6 women, I think that he could have made that list as well, because his ascent is basically
rapid.
Yeah, absolutely. Trick Williams. if they, depending on how big they give him, they make his debut, then I think, they could shoot him to the top immediately, or he can mill about for a couple of years.
Who knows? Again, I mean, it could be a situation where 2027 might be a more optimistic outlook for a potential Rumble win for him. Hey, maybe at that point, Carmelo Hayes is champion. Trick wins the Rumble in 2027. They have a feud going into WrestleMania. That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be pretty cool. Seth Rollins.
Again, a name that every year you got to think, well, he's got a chance.
He's taken, he took that loss to Punk on Netflix. If he faces Pentagon at WrestleMania, probably lose there. Or who does WrestleMania Seth Rollins? Who does he beat? Is there anybody out there that'll beat at WrestleMania? If it ends up being Kevin Owens, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. That's clear.
Yeah, that's clearly the match.
Randy Orton.
Sure, I guess maybe he could beat Randy. I don't know what the motivation for that match would be, but sure, yeah, he could beat Randy maybe. I don't know, Randy's super popular. Might be a sorry Seth situation.
You just opened my door like that? Get out of here. I'm almost done.
Your cat opened your door?
Yeah, cat opened my door.
Wow.
Who else is on the list?
You put Jey Uso, even though he just won. You think Jey Uso has a possibility to win back-to-back Rumbles?
Why is Jey Uso not on our list? He should be.
He just won the Rumble.
Cody won back-to-back. Why are we not, once again, we're not considering the Jey Uso factor?
People don't often win the Rumble back-to-back years, Steve. It's only happened, 3 times? Hogan.
He's like the most popular guy
Austin,
on the roster.
And Cody.
You're so dismissive. He's the most popular guy on the roster.
He won the Rumble this year. He's going to win the World Heavyweight Championship.
Hey, did you hear about the video on social media of Jimmy and Jacob Fatu congratulating him backstage?
No.
Did you see it? Oh, so you didn't see it?
No.
He comes backstage and he basically is acting like he had just won a decent house show match. I thought it was like, oh, did you see this video? See this video? And Maggie sent it to me. And I was like, oh, let me take a look. I want to take a look. Yeah. And he comes backstage and he's just acting like it's the most normal thing in the world. I'm like, this fool. And then he comes out on Raw the next night. It's like crying and everything. Yeah. And I'm sure that, it's just probably overwhelming and, you have to shut down a little bit for it. Or maybe you're humbled a little bit for it or whatever. Self-conscious. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
It's just funny. Everybody was hyping it up. Then I watched it and I'm like, I don't know. Honestly, it looks like, he just won a $1 scratcher, Roman Reigns.
Yeah, again, you can't dispel the idea that he could win any given year.
He's Roman. Yeah.
Yeah. Put your ones up for your tribal chief, Steve. Alexa Bliss just came back.
Oh, it's a big deal. Big pop.
Yeah, massive deal. Arguably the loudest pop all of the entire Rumble event when she returned. Now that she's back, get her involved in a few stories and, depending, get her back in the title picture pretty quickly because she's wildly popular.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps a Rumble win on the way to winning a championship at WrestleMania.
Heel Naomi. I want to see that regardless, but heel Naomi winning the Rumble, that'd be great.
That'd be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Julia.
Yeah, we talked about Julia earlier. I'm surprised you didn't have Io Sky on your short list.
Man, I want to see what they're going to do with her over the next 6 months or so, leading up to WrestleMania. Hopefully she'll take on, I don't know. I think Charlotte's going to do the Rhea thing, unless they're going to do find a triple threat way of doing it. I don't know.
No.
They got to find some cool shit for Io. I love Io. I'm not getting my hopes up on that one.
Yeah.
I can see it happening, though. I can see it happening.
Yeah, I can see it happening. I think there's a decent shot of Io facing Rhea at WrestleMania this year.
I'll put it this way. Chelsea Green was on my short list. I feel like Io has a better shot. But I still put Chelsea on there because I feel like Chelsea can blow up at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But I think Io's got a better odds of winning next year than Chelsea would by far, actually. Yeah. So I think it's a possibility. She's kind of like perpetual main eventer,
Yeah.
Or perpetual potential main eventer, put it that way.
Yes, exactly.
Anyways, so that's going to do it for this edition of Going In Raw. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Do us a solid. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. We also have Friendo Club setups out there. Channel memberships. Click join. You get access to bonus episodes, big predictions challenge, and question threads. You get all that stuff. Also, if you don't want to do it here on YouTube, you can go to patreon.com/Stephen Larson. Click on the Friendo Club setup there. We got a variety of reward tiers, though. You can check them all out. Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll see you guys around.
Goodbye.